Welcome to the Andy Social Podcast. My name is Andy, and I'm recording this intro from the Crown Promenade in Melbourne. Jess and I are celebrating our 1 year and wedding anniversary, I should say, and we're about to hit the town and have a few drinks. So while Jess is getting ready, I thought I would record the intro for this week's podcast very quickly. The sound quality of the intro that I'm recording right now is a bit crap because I'm using the microphone on my iPhone itself. So bear with me, the episode itself is far better quality than this. So kicking straight into it, this week's guest is the second Brisbane guest of four that I recently recorded up in Brisbane. And this week I have Tim Price on. So Tim is a band publicist, band manager, does PR. He is the co-owner and publicist for Collision Course PR. He's band managed a whole range of different bands over the years. And does a lot in the music industry. He is somebody that you need to know if you're in a band, especially if you're getting started or you've got a good product ready to push out into the public domain. He is the person to have on your side. So I will put all the episode links and show notes and everything over at andysocial.net. So make sure you go over there and check it all out. I'm not going to ramble on any further because I've got some drinking to do. So please enjoy this week's guest, Tim Price. Hey Tim, how you doing?
Hey, I'm well. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. This is cool. I actually thought this was your home. You gave me the address, and so when I got out the front, I thought, oh,
and you
shit.
saw Skippy's Cafe downstairs.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, is there a bed out the back there?
Yeah, I'm in the back of a small cafe. I've got a trundle bed out the back.
That's cool. So this is your operation here, or you're part of this operation. What is this?
Explain. Collision Course, as a PR company, operates under the umbrella of SGC Media Group. And so SGC is run by a guy called Stephen Green, and I've known Stephen for near on 10 years now. He used to come up to Rockhampton to do music industry workshops and that sort of stuff through Q Music that long ago. And 2 years ago, I basically did a joint venture business deal with him where I get to work out of his office and use his networks and contacts, and he's a joint owner in my business, and he's got an invested interest in making sure I'm successful as well. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
from a partnership point of view, I think that's one thing. Like I'm just looking at the books on this bookshelf here. Yeah. There's heaps of like sort of music related books, but there's some industry type books in there as well. There's how to win friends and influence people and all sorts. But one thing, I'm big into a lot of this stuff, and the whole partnership thing is something that everyone talks about as like really good leverage to have. Definitely.
Yeah. I was actually talking about this yesterday, and while Greeny's never set out to be a mentor or anything to me, he's definitely that. And it's one of those things where, I was running a business before I moved in here, but I'm not great at business.
Yeah.
I'm a think from the heart kind of guy. I'm passionate. I'm emotional about records and music that I really love, and I think that fucking people should be into this. and he's the head guy. He's the he thinks from is that going to work from a business perspective? How many records are they going to sell? What, should you do that? Is it going to be worth the dollars you're charging someone to do that? And, sometimes I win that argument and sometimes he wins that argument, sort
of just that yin yang sort of thing.
Totally.
It just balances each other out.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I'm really right. And, I've totally slashed my prices to work with a record that I'm just like, this is going to be something, and a couple of times I've been, really right. So like Polaris was one that I was just like, I don't care. I don't care if I don't get paid to do this. I want to do it. It's a great record, and it worked out really well. And, at the moment I'm working with the Beautiful Monument out of Melbourne, and, I just think there's something there with those girls, what they're doing. And I'm doing that very cheaply at the moment. And I just went, I'm going to do it. It was one of those moments where I actually just walked in and I said, I'm going to do this record and I'm not going to charge them. So there.
Yeah.
have that. Like,
it's sort of like an upfront investment from your behalf, because what you're hoping is that the returns are going to be quite good later on down the track. You believe in what they do.
Yeah,
so that's your passion side of it coming in.
Yeah. And there's been other instances where I've come to him and gone, I think I'm gonna do this, and it was like, all right, well, lay out your case for me.
Yeah.
This. And I'll walk out going, all right, no, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? And so,
you talk it through.
But it's good. Yeah. Whereas before I worked for 2 years out of my spare bedroom at home, and don't get me wrong, worked hard, real hard, making sure that it worked, making sure that I was able to pay the rent at home, you know, but I didn't have anyone to talk to. Like, literally no one. There were some days where I didn't speak to another human being. I was just all email. You know, I might take a phone call or two, but I didn't see anyone. Yeah. And I'm a social person. So it was actually really detrimental for my mental health. Even like my marriage. Like, my wife, when I'd pick her up from work after, you know, she'd been at work with other people all day and she'd been talking all day. You know, she had the day's stresses on her mind. I'd just be like, blah, 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 as soon as she got in the car, like, I just unload because I hadn't spoken to anyone. And she'd be like, fuck, like, calm down. I'm trying to unwind here. You know, I've been dealing with people all day.
I can relate to that. I have the same thing with my wife, where my wife works from home and she's got an e-commerce business and it's doing quite well.
Sick.
But she's communicating with her customers online. There's not really any phone conversations unless she's trying to source something or try to tee up an arrangement or whatever. But more or less it's her working to her own devices, to her own schedule, to her own expectations and rules that she set for herself. And so me doing all the different things that I do and then doing other forms of work, I'm chatterbox all day. I'm most of everything that I do involves my voice one way or the other. Yeah. And I get into that car at 5 o'clock and part of the routine is I'll give her a buzz and she's just telling me everything's going on and I am so mentally drained. Yeah. And I go, oh, and she's like, are you there? I'm like, yeah, I'm listening. Yeah. And but at the same time, she cops it from me as well. She's sick of hearing my voice. So when I talk about doing podcasts, I go, have you listened to that one that I did? She goes, come on. Am I really going to listen to your podcast? I hear your voice enough. It's fine. It's fine.
So, you know, it's been great. And to actually have a network of people here, you know, and they all work with other genres of music and all of that sort of stuff. And sometimes, even though they are working with different media outlets and having those other perspectives on maybe how to pitch something, or even if something borders another genre, just go, do you think that outlet that you deal with all the time, but I don't, do you think they'd be interested in this particular artist that I'm working with? Like, it's gold. Yeah. It really is.
It's, I mean, we were just talking before we started recording about metalheads and sometimes some particular metalheads. I know that people listening to this podcast hear me slag on metalheads quite a bit, but there's a bit of a stereotype that we know what we like and we stick to that, and there's nothing else. And it comes to musos as well. So musos that play particular genres of heavy music, they follow the formula that their idols followed, and they're not going to branch out or try and pull tips and tools and new ways to promote themselves or to diversify their opportunities and whatever, because that's just not the way you do it. Yeah. And they don't want to be seen as selling out or being a poser and all this sort of stuff. But really, I mean, the bands that are so successful are the ones that have great management behind them. Yeah. But from the band themselves, they're open-minded, where they're willing to give anything a shot. Yeah. If they can see the bigger picture. Yeah.
And it's interesting, you know, I've had some conversations with, you know, some of those metal bands in those genres where sort of we were talking about, let's not necessarily specify, but, and, you know, even the prospect of doing a PR campaign around their album to them is selling out. Yep. And that's, you know, that's almost mystifying to me, because there's no not a single part of what I do is buying them anything or like putting them into something that they wouldn't like. You know, it really is.
They're not doing Kmart commercials.
No,
or anything
exactly,
like.
exactly. You know, so it's like, oh, so you don't want to tell people about this?
It's kind of, yeah, like it's better when nobody knows about us,
Yeah.
but we kind of still want to make some money off it. So how do we do it? That's like, okay, but it's it comes in some certain pockets. It's almost like it's very much an Australian culture, tall poppy syndrome sort of thing as well, where you don't want to be seen as being too successful or your head above the rest or whatever, because people will cut you down.
Yeah, is it a worry that people think you're trying too hard as well? Like,
I think people think that as well, but I think people are scared to fail, and I think social media is a bitch as well, because it's so easy to jump on the bandwagon and just rip into people. If someone stuffs up or they say they're doing this fantastic, amazing project and they talk it up and then it dies in its ass, then it's so easy for people to jump in and go, ha ha, sucked in. And so a lot of people just go, you know what, I'm not going to do it.
Try,
and you just miss out.
Yeah, maybe it's just my particular personality. I mean, I've just always been the guy in my group of friends that's always just been the super positive dude and gives anything a go. And, you know, I've had some failings and I've had some good things happen, but I've never really let it get me down.
Yeah.
And maybe I can't identify with that because I'm just like, well, why wouldn't you give it a go?
Yeah.
And, you know, but it's not coming from a point of view from my perspective of going like, no, I'm going to, like you say, put you in a Kmart ad or some shit like that. You know, it's.
Hey, if you could, and I know we're not on any of your books, but if you could get lured into a Kmart ad, just putting it out there, would not complain, and I would easily put up with any flack that the general public would give us, because it would just be, it would be worth it for the laugh.
Hey, maybe I should get you to replace the Casey Donovan as the Coles down.
Oh yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I mean, surely we can't be as irritating as that. Far out.
Have you seen the memes where they've got the picture of Casey Donovan and it's like, and because she's got the big afro or whatever, they're like, man, Wolf Mother's sold out.
Yeah, someone was quite witty with that. Yeah, that was
that's not
bad. But I get psyched when people get these really odd opportunities to get exposure in the most unlikely of platforms, or different markets or whatever, where people get a little bit of TV or radio exposure, or their music gets licensed into some form of advertising or whatever. And I think that's amazing. I think it's so cool. And maybe that's just, you know, what we were talking about earlier about some of the earlier roots of where I was hanging out and the types of bands that I was listening to and seeing live, that would repel away from that sort of stuff. But I think most bands, I guess, and I should give most musos credit, I think most people would jump at the opportunity for things like that. I think it's just so cool.
Yeah, I mean, if that can pay for the recording of your next record, so you don't have to scrimp and scrounge and maybe crowdfund or, you know, mortgage the house, then
absolutely,
why wouldn't you just do that? Because that allows you to make the next record.
That's it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think that comes down to good PR and marketing, that you can spin anything. So it's something that might maybe on paper initially you go, oh, it doesn't really align in with our image or the type of music that we write about or whatever it might be. You can spin anything. You can totally spin anything.
Hey, they're using Holy Diver in a car ad at the moment.
It's mad. People are getting pissed off about it. It's like,
I know.
Oh man, what's going on to metal? And it's like, hang on, you've been complaining about how everyone ignores metal and never gives metal the time of day. Now it's on like mainstream national TV on a really popular car brand, and you're not happy? What? It's like, I jumped over my seat. I'm like, oh, Dio's on TV. This is incredible. This is so cool.
Yeah,
but,
hell yeah.
You can't please everyone.
Yeah, I just have like with great delight, like, holy shit, Dio, and my wife's like, what is this song?
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so
I'm like,
cool.
This is fucking great.
Do you think, from, I guess, with the bands that you work with, do you see music of sort of the heavier nature being more accepted more now than probably in the last 10 or 15 years? Do you see more opportunities are popping up for bands?
Yeah, totally. And it's been great. Like I've only really been around doing PR for the last 5, and it's just been incredible just to see a couple of things. One, the number of outlets that are out there that are, you know, pretty much exclusively heavy content, just in Australia, is really cool. There's a ton of community radio stations that are you know, going nuts on it. There's just an absolute smattering of blogs everywhere that'll do, you know, everything from, you know, sort of punk stuff through to that extreme metal. So that's really accessible to everyone, and it's been far more inclusive, which is really cool. That there's been this sort of acknowledgement that there's a trend towards people sort of being across more genres than just one. You know?
I think the internet's helped that because you've got so much more access to music. You're not relying on your older brother
trading tapes.
Or your mates in your inner circle who are quick to judge you when you listen to something that's a little bit edgy or a bit out. Whereas now, like, you can, within a few clicks, you can hear anything at any time. And so now people's tastes are so much more broader, and I think people, if anything, get a real joy out of making sure that other people are aware of how broad their tastes are. So people aren't, it's not like this guilty pleasure anymore. It's like, you know, I love heaps of different music. It's not even just heavy music, it's any music. I mean, I see so many more metal fans embrace and talk about how awesome pop music is. And that's cool. I think it's awesome because people appreciate that there's a craft to it, and it's an art, and some really catchy freaking songs that come from different genres. Yeah,
I think, unfortunately, some of those moments where people come out and talk about that sort of stuff have unfortunately come out of like deaths of various you know, icons of music, and you know, someone like Chris Cornell recently, and Chester Bennington as well, where you dive into their entire catalogue and they've taken a lot of twists and turns in what they've in their output, you know. And while you might be a real purist and be like, nah, I only like early Soundgarden stuff, you know, and I only like, but if you were into that stuff and you were into the sound of Cornell's voice, you can't deny his output over the, like, so you've got to go, you know what? The man made a pop record. It was terrible, but his voice is like unmistakable. It's so good.
And unfortunately, it gets to a point where something tragic has to happen for people to...
Before people start coming out of the closet and going, no, I actually love all of his stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And it's, it makes people feel a little bit more comfortable, I guess, because everybody's grieving and everyone's talking about it. And so they're like, oh, yeah, me too. Okay, all right, yeah, guilty. But I mean, one of the bands I think that you're working with at the moment, Trollholgen.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the prime example of a band that have, I mean, I don't even know what the hell they would class themselves as these days. But they were a metal band.
Yeah.
And they were like this folk metal band that dressed up in this really sort of dorky garments and hung out in the forest taking photos. And they had a guy that played like a little mandolin or something like that. And they've turned into the most ridiculous band, but it's so cool. But they're just willing to, and I've known these guys for quite a few years. They're so carefree about perception, and they're so carefree about what other people think of them. And if anything, if they can piss off more people, the better. Yeah. And it's so cool. And when that album artwork got released the other day, and I'll put it in the show notes so people can see it, and you can pre-order the album now, blah, 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 plug. The guys can thank me later. Yeah. I just went, I wasn't even expecting this at all. I wasn't expecting this artwork, and I wasn't expecting this direction. Yeah. Because they're already pretty wacky as it was.
Yeah. I got their promo shot from Mike Solo at Birds Robe, and I was like, what? This does not look like the dudes in this band at all. No. But okay, cool, let's run with that. And you know, and then I dived into the tracks from the last record that they put out, and I was like, this is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously I sent you the link to the Faction and whatever, but like, and so I chucked the tracks straight into the rotation on the radio station, and I was driving along the other day, and it came on, and I like scrolled through in the car, like went through like the song and title text and whatever, and I was like, this is so fucking good. And I was just like, yeah, okay, this explains because you listen to that band and then you find out that single was added to Triple J. Like, it was on rotation.
Yeah.
And you're like, no fucking wonder it was added. This is so genre free.
Yeah.
And like, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's real heavy, and it's real complex and real technical.
Yeah.
But it's like a pop song.
Yeah.
And the closest thing is 12 Foot Ninja that I can think of. And even that's way straighter than that.
Yeah.
Even 12 Foot Ninja is way straighter than that song.
Yeah.
And you just go, damn.
And they're such a good live band as well. Like, just the way that it's that, I mean, I'm sure the guys could explain it a hell of a lot better than me, but they're just so carefree in their approach, and at least the perception is that, and they just get on stage, and I think the more ridiculous they can be, the better. And it gets people talking, and I think it brings back the whole thing of, there's this whole romantic thought about it's all about the music, and yeah, it is, but at the same time, if you're a live band, you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
As corny, as cheap as it sounds, you're a performer, you're an entertainer, and you're there to entertain people, and to get on stage and just play the songs off the album note for note, just stand in one spot and just try and look as serious as possible. Yeah, okay, some bands can get away with it because it matches in with their persona, but for the most part...
But even that is entertainment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's it.
There's a part of that the reason we're doing this is what our audience expects, and this is what they're entertained
People
by.
have paid to come here, and they're going to have a good time, and the good time equates to whatever you're putting out.
Yeah.
But, they've totally embraced it. I mean, they're total show ponies on stage, and they're willing to make a spectacle of themselves, so people walk away and just say, oh my god, what the hell did I just watch? I can't even put into words what that was. It was so cool.
There's a bunch of really great heavy music coming out of Australia that I think is very much in that genre, like very much in that vein, like King Parrot does it so well with their film clips, and
that new one's next. That new one is next level.
It is.
I was expecting something pretty ridiculous, but then even like halfway through, I'm like, oh my god!
I've seen far too many rubber dicks already.
How long is this going to stay on YouTube for? Like, I was amazed. It was pretty good. It was, I mean, well filmed. Those guys got some good people behind them.
And again, just willing to do whatever it is to entertain.
That's it.
You know, and then, you know, even though they're not a live band, you look at Dead Cali and what they're doing with, you know, like those Legend of Borry tracks.
Yeah.
Like, I chucked that into the radio station, and it came up today, and I was just listening to it, and I was like, do you know what? This is essentially, if there was a live component to this is essentially like a heavier tism.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, if they performed live, this would be a spectacle similar to what a live TISM show would have been.
Maybe that's their evolution if they ever get to that point. Because I mean,
they're doing the whole hide the identity thing, even though it's this, you know, Pinecone Throat is, you know, that's the worst kept secret ever. if you kind of know, but yeah,
it's cool though. I think it's the whole theatrics behind it.
Totally.
And a lot of bands, and I think this is, it's not the only thing, but for a lot of bands, it's understanding that and having the self-awareness to understand what is a band and what is a musician. And, you know, if you're a studio band, then what's your purpose and what's your vision?
Yep.
If you're a band that releases music but also performs live, then what's the vision there and what are we trying to do?
Yeah.
And if you're a bedroom player,
probably lies in asking yourself those questions to begin with, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you're not...
Well, if you're a bedroom player at home and you just love playing music and you love recording music for yourself and you don't care about other people listening to it, then great, fantastic. You don't have to worry about marketing or doing anything online to spread the word or getting out there. But if you're a band that's formed with a bunch of like-minded friends and you love the same sort of music and you start to feel frustrated that nobody's paying attention to what you do, or you start playing the same shows over and over again to the same 50 people in a room that aren't really paying attention to what you're doing, then you sort of think, well, why are we here? What are we trying to do?
Well, there's that old thing about, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And that's, and that's a conversation I actually have with a lot of bands that, they might be approaching a publicist, whether it's me, whoever, for the first time about promoting a record. And, we start chatting about what they want to achieve out of it and that, what they expect will happen and all of that sort of stuff. And they sort of go down the line of, oh, here's what we did last time. And, we'd like to do the same again. And I'm like, the first thing I say to them, and like, if that's what they're firm on, that's what they want to do, then I'll go with it. But I do give them an opportunity at that point to go, like, look, the thing is, you've come to me for the first time, or a publicist for the first time, looking to do something differently this time with this release. I put it to you that paying me to do what
you've done already
might yield you the same results as last time, so you're actually just paying for nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
So here's an alternative, and like I get the feeling you're coming to a publicist or someone else to help you roll this out because you're looking for a different result.
Yeah.
Because you want bigger results, because you want different results.
Yeah.
So it's
a really common thing that you, like when you first have that first conversation with a band.
Yeah. And I think it's probably because PR as a thing for heavy bands, and especially, bands that aren't signed to labels or, or haven't got a large, long catalogue of output, that it's the first time they're encountering it.
Yeah.
So they actually, a lot of time, I have to explain what PR is first. And most of it is explaining just about how it's actually about strategy.
Yeah.
And it's about, wearing the suit for the job you want. So it's about, understanding that release days are always Friday, for charting reasons, and while that's not a going concern for everyone, it's about wearing the suit for the job you want. Do you want to be a band that's releasing and potentially charting on your sales? Do you want to be a band that's making a splash because of the sales you made, or, the results that you got, or the Spotify playlist you got added to, or, the band found, the band that you idolized found you and posted your stuff, or whatever it is? You've got to, you've got to do things differently, and you've got to have strategy. And it's about being organized and not just throwing content out there at the wall and seeing what hits.
Do you think it's hard to try and educate people on strategies like that when the whole music industry over the last 10 odd years has been flipped upside down, where I think the mentality with a lot of bands is that you have to be DIY and you have to do it yourself. And so people think, why would I invest in, and this is something I hear quite a bit, why would I invest in things like PR or other ways marketing to get the band, marketing and whatnot, when I have a social media account and I can connect with my fans, and why would I pay something that I'm already doing myself? And so, but then understanding the mechanics of what a record label did all the time and it's been forgotten is things like, when's the right time to release a single? When's the right time to release an album or an EP or whatever it is, a video clip? Where's the best place to release it? Talking about the content that you have, owning your content as opposed to passing it on to other people. Lots of different things that bands just don't, I think a lot of bands have just forgotten about or have come in during this whole DIY era, which is great in some ways, but in other ways it's probably made a lot of bands dumber.
Yeah, a little
for
bit.
A better word.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I guess the response I would have to that is that, like, publicity isn't a case of you're not DIY anymore. Like, yeah, you're paying someone else to do that element of your campaign. But in my mind, there's been an even bigger movement in the last few years, which is actually more about doing it together.
Yeah.
And it's about, it's not about, and you're together, your team might not include a label or anything like that. But there's, certain people that you contract to do certain jobs because it allows you to do it yourself, all the other things that you need to be doing as a band. So where your time is taken up by what I do, like by contacting media outlets and following them up and seeing if they're going to play your song, or, establishing a relationship with a media partner to set up a premiere, or, all of that stuff, your time could be way better spent getting your finances in order to make the next merch order, or, sorting out your distro properly and giving that the time of day, sourcing a graphic designer to get fucking rad art, like that's, I find if you haven't got a manager, hiring me for PR frees you up to be a manager in the band and be way more organized. Like it's about, it's not about that I'm taking away your DIY status. It's about that if you were clever about this, there's a lot of things you need to do in a band if you're going to do it all yourself.
Oh, it's that whole business model. I mean,
Totally.
a band is a business, and a successful business or a business owner surrounds themselves with expertise and people that can get the job done. And you can't be self-reliant because you don't have all the skills, or the 4 or 5 guys in your band don't have all the skills to be able to do every function to the best of their ability, like, or to the most potential, I should say.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
So
and
as soon as you get leverage from other people, it just helps you guys.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like, well, did you outsource getting that lyric video made? Well, do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same. It's the same thing. Like, you didn't have the skills in house to do a lyric video, so you outsourced it. You outsourced the PR to me.
I think it's a tight ass thing as well. Do you see that a lot?
There's a bit of that, and
especially when you're talking money to bands. Do you find that you've got to try and talk about the value in what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely, and it's a bit of a sore point.
Yeah,
because I also need to eat, and I need to see value in
you're investing
the
your
amount
time.
The amount of time that I can put into a campaign. It needs to be commensurate to what I'm taking home, and I've got to pay my own tax. I've got to, pay my own super and all of that sort of stuff as well. So I do find myself having to explain myself a little bit, and I do wrestle with it, man. Like mentally I wrestle with, because I've been in bands and I've managed bands, and I know that cash is hard to find. And I know that cash flow doesn't always flow. Yeah. You by the time you're looking at PR but you've either recorded your record or you're gathering the money to record the record, you're paying off, the merch sales from your last cycle are only trickling in now. And you're at that point where you're doing 50% off sales and shit. And so I get it. Yeah. I get that you're actually going to put your hand in your pocket to pay for it. But the alternative is doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I've explained that with bands as well, is that if you do it yourself, go hard. Like, build your own lists, build your own relationships, go nuts. I would be stoked for you if you did a great job and you were able to, pull the results that I would have got for you. Yeah. And like, if you can do it, rad, do it. And then whoever in the band did it, start your own company, because you did a great job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And look, I don't begrudge anyone who's eventually said to me no, because I get it. Sometimes it's just literally a dollars thing. But I've never had someone say, no, actually, we don't think what you do is worth our time or our money. It's just, we actually don't have that money to do it.
Yeah.
So after explaining to them what I do and what I could do for them, I've never had anyone go, fuck that.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
Do
I
you
mean,
know what I mean?
that's part of the battle, is you being able to upfront qualify what you can do for them and explaining the value and what they're potentially going to be investing in.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, then it's up to them to make that call as to, well, can I sacrifice that additional time that I would have to invest personally to try and do the same job?
Yeah.
Or is it better for us long term to just cough up the money, free us up to do other things that could end up bringing that money back in twice as much, tenfold, or whatever it might be, and then making that call. But I mean, it's a hard thing because bands are.
I try to bring value to the bands I work with as well, not only just on the PR side.
Yeah.
Like, you know, booking shows for a lot of bands is really tough, you know, and, you know, booking shows or, you know, getting supports for bands is not part of my service at all, but I do it. You know, if there's a band that goes, fuck man, we're really struggling in Melbourne, we can't find a band to support us, or we can't find a venue or whatever, it's, you know, I'll call in stuff, you know, on that level, or I'll go, well, actually, I'm working this other campaign over here. They got a Melbourne show the day before. Could you shuffle things around and you could, I can hook you up, you know? And, you know, and I've ended up getting bands I'm working with like crazy good supports over the years, you know, like, and it's often the thing that like takes them from there to there, you know?
That's it. It could be like if you're providing a package of a number of different functions of a service, it could be like the most unsuspecting part of that entire package that could end up being the key. Yeah, it could be the game changer. And it's that whole, well, what's luck? Well, luck is part of it's hard work, but putting yourself in a position where you're open and the opportunity's there for luck to happen.
Dude, last year I worked with a Brisbane band called the Iron Eye. It's probably a lot lighter than what I usually work with, but they're great dudes. I really like them. It's just way more in that like rock genre, right? And I was struggling to find a spot for them on radio because it wasn't heavy enough for the racket. Dom Alessio at Home and Hose wasn't touching it. It, you know, Triple M doesn't add new stuff. So I'm going, man, where does this sit? And it was too shiny production for community radio.
Right, okay.
So it doesn't even have that, like, oh, we'll chuck it into community radio kind of thing. So
just sitting in limbo.
In total limbo in Australia. They're not the living end. So Triple M doesn't want them yet.
Yeah.
But they're also really good. And if they were to add, if Triple M were to add new stuff, it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
So I took it to New Zealand. I got it added on the Triple M equivalent in New Zealand on a station called The Rock. And like high rotation.
Nice.
And it's just like, it's crazy that I had to go offshore, but as if you'd find that angle if you were doing it yourself.
Well, that's it.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's that whole thinking outside the box as well. And it makes me laugh because I just think about it's been like for years and years and years, it's always a case of, well, Australians will never acknowledge their peers until they're popular internationally. And then they'll go, oh yeah, they're all right then. And it's like Airborne. Airborne got all the success in Europe.
And even in Varkin before they were, you know.
And even here, like people still take the piss out of them and go, eh. Yeah. And I mean, they're playing bigger places now, but still, I mean,
yeah, nothing on what they're doing in Europe.
No, but it was only when they started to get some real traction overseas that Aussies locally
even gave a shit.
Yeah, that's right. And they're the people that would normally listen to that sort of music, but it was just that stigma of local artists or whatever, or talk.
No, we already got AC/DC, eh?
Yeah, that's right. They're not on Triple M yet, so I don't care. You know, so
yeah, like,
sorry, we're bashing Triple M, but that's
sorry,
okay.
buddy.
No, but I mean, it's been an ongoing struggle with radio, and I think it's getting better than what it used to be over the last few years, where there's more opportunity now for people to get exposure. And I think the good thing is that the people that are starting to get into these positions now are like our age.
Yeah.
And they're in their early 30s, and they've gone through the same things that we have. They got the same interests. So suddenly all this stuff's coming full circle. So a lot of the music that wasn't accepted 10, 15, 20 years ago, especially in the 90s.
Getting to 20 years, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like, has it been that long?
Yeah.
is coming back now. So so it's a lot more accepted and there's a lot more opportunities because the guys who are making the decisions are our peers now. So it's really, really exciting for a lot of bands. But I love that, you know, okay, well, we could just accept that no, there's nowhere for this song or this music to be played, so we'll just keep gigging and hope that someone will eventually pick it up, and we'll just keep sending promos out that get thrown in the bin or whatever. It's like, well, hang on, let's just go over the pond and let's go to New Zealand. I mean, how many people actively push New Zealand?
Dude, I went to a conference over there just before Big Sound last year, so it was a thing called Going Global over there, and man, I had a hell of a time. It was so cool. Their music over there, they're so passionate. There's not as much like super heavy stuff over there, but man, they love their rock. They really do.
There's a band in New Zealand. I haven't listened to their stuff yet, but far out, they're so popular. Is it Devil Skin?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god! Like I've got one of them. I think
one
on
of the
Facebook.
bands that the manager hit me up while I was there. Yeah.
And I see the photos pop up in my feed, and they're playing these big rooms, massive, and they're doing all the big support.
So they actually bought Hailstorm.
Yeah, that's right.
They actually acted as a promoter and brought them to New Zealand, and then they sold
the Australian
tour to another promoter, which I did the PR for. So it was this weird thing of like, they were just like, you know, and I'd say that's the attitude you need to have over there to be successful. Is like, fuck it, we'll bring them out ourselves. No one else is.
Don't rely on someone else. Just make it happen.
And Hailstorm supported them.
That's so good
in New Zealand.
That's so good.
That was nuts. That's the so nuts thing about it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing so well. I mean, we've played New Zealand a few times over the years, and
shout out to Paul. Actually, he runs a radio show in New Zealand. From Devil's Skin.
Oh man, all right.
Yeah,
I'll hit him up.
The Axe Attack.
The Axe Attack. Oh, I think I know him.
Yeah,
I think
Paul
so.
Martin. Yeah.
Oh, because
he's a ledge.
Yeah, because it's been it's been about 4.5 years since we played New Zealand. Long overdue, but we played there a few times, and it's like so cool.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I went over there, and Tom Larkin from Shehard was also at the conference, and I went out for dinner with him one night, and I said to him, like, fuck, man, why don't more bands come here? And I was like, I'm going to start telling everyone. Like, you know, to come from Brisbane, it's like the same as flying to Melbourne, you know, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I'm going to say something controversial here. Don't. I'm like, fucking what? What do you mean? He's like, well, the problem is that bands go once and never come back.
Yeah.
And they don't keep going back to develop the market.
Yeah.
Because the first time they didn't necessarily make money. Right? Which, if you break it down, who makes money on their first fucking tour anywhere? No. So, like, there's not much in the way of an argument there. And so it just doesn't get added to tour lists again. And he was like, if you're not willing to come back every cycle and keep developing the market, don't.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. Okay. Because he was like, I don't want to see New Zealand sort of just get constantly let down by no one ever coming here, and you know. Yeah. So he's like, if you're going to tell people, tell them to get stuck in and come back every album tour or every definitely 2 years at least. You know,
it's the same with Japan. We've got such a great following over there.
That's
but
sick.
It's really, really evident there that if you don't maintain that relationship with them, they take it to heart.
Wow.
And I mean, at one point, it had been quite a few years, we missed an album cycle or maybe an album and an EP or something like that. And we went back and we almost went back to square one.
Wow.
We struggled a lot to try and get traction, try and get publicity and try and get people to come to the shows. And there was obviously this collective diehard that would come no matter what, but that whole wider audience, it was really, really hard. Yeah. And
had you distributed those there?
Yep. And even with local, and that actually was probably part of the problem, is that they had access to our music, but we weren't going over there and playing. So it's not even a case of we didn't know about it. It's like we know the music's there and we're enjoying it, and you're still not coming over. Yeah. So
right.
And even now for us, I mean, we've done box sets, EPs, re-recordings, and all this shit over the last 4 years, and we haven't done a new album since 2013, so we're way overdue for a new album. But that's the last time we toured Japan. So our concern now is going to be how do we go back and make sure we get the most impact, and try and spin it in a way that we're not offending the local audience there, because we haven't been there for so long, and it's a really tricky thing, and it's more evident there because you've got cultural things to overcome as well. So it's different again, but it's a similar, on a high level, a very similar concept to what you're saying about New Zealand. You've got to keep going back. But even like nationally in Australia, I mean, the same thing. You got to keep playing. And the best bands, and I mean, it's hard, and I understand it's hard for a lot of bands, and for us it's difficult. But the bands that do so well, they play anywhere and everywhere, and they'll slog it out for months, and they'll play every shithole in regional Australia, and the first time they come through, they get 20 payers on a Wednesday night, and they go, oh my God, they're sleeping in the back of their van, and they're doing these massive kilometres. Second time they come back, they got 40 payers. And then eventually they can play anywhere in the country, and they're just packing places out. But they put the hard yards in. And they built that relationship. And the locals know, well, you're not coming here for a one-night stand. You're coming back again, and you're building that relationship. And people really respect that. It's sort of like footy teams and sporting. Like, you want to get behind someone who's giving something to you and showing up every week or every month or every year or whatever it might be.
Absolutely.
It's a hard thing, though.
Well, I mean, you know, I started my career out in Rockhampton, and, you know, getting bands to come to Rockhampton, you know, that was my thing. I was bringing, you know, whoever would bother to come that far north, you know. So
this is me segueing.
Sure.
So speaking of Rockhampton, two things. You played in a band called Epidemic.
I managed that band.
You managed them?
I managed Epidemic over.
You didn't play in them? No. Okay, I was going to say, because I got that EP somewhere, and I was like,
no shit.
Yeah, I don't even know where I got it from.
Wow.
But it showed up in my collection. I don't know whether someone gave it to me when we played in Queensland or...
Did you ever play in Gladstone?
No.
Or did you play Rocky?
Yeah, we played Rocky.
You would have played probably with like Enlightened by Darkness or...
Yeah. So maybe one of those guys.
Shout out to Hayden.
Yeah, Hayden over in Perth now. Doing his comedy.
Old Douglas.
But I don't know where it came from. I don't know whether it was in a bunch of promos or whatever it was, but that was really cool.
It was probably through the Enlightened by Darkness boys, because, you know, there was only 4 or 5 bands going on at any one time up there, and it didn't matter that there was totally different genres. They were all swapping CDs and slapping each other on the back and, you know, and having a beer. It didn't matter so much, just that it was tough for everyone, you know.
So what band did you play in when you were up that way?
Well, at that time I was only putting on shows. And then I moved to Brisbane and I started playing in like this blues band thing. But
cool.
I had managed Epidemic over all the way through from 2007 to 2012 when they broke up. But that was good days, man. It was pretty pioneer, like managing a band from Rockhampton, because there's not much networking to do, and
it's a good way. You know, I mean, if anything, that's such an advantage to have, because you've got no choice but to be creative to try and find ways to get noticed, to build a network. Because when you eventually come down here, you go, oh fuck, it's so much easier in a way, because you've got access to more people and more opportunities.
It was hilarious, man, because the funny thing was most of the time, because they were just so used to doing everything, putting on their own shows, like setting up the PA, they'd literally do everything. When they'd come down here, they'd bring the PA from Gladstone for the show. And they'd set it up down here for whatever show they were doing. Or, you know, they'd be the ones setting up the show here and getting local supports. You know, it's just like... In a way, it just makes you such a go-getter, because... you're used to doing it. You've got it. And everyone down here is like, just, I'll rock up at sound check. And
I don't want to bring my drum kit.
Dude, they provided backline for so many shows on so many different tours. And in fact, that's how they got on a bunch of tours, was they just went, because, you know, when the all ages scene was a bit better, you know, setting up in PCYCs and all of that sort of stuff, PA was needed.
That was their asset.
That was their thing that got them on the tours. Yeah. And so, you know, they were just, it wasn't going to cost the headline band $800 a night for a PA absolutely. Or whatever. They're like, put us on the tour, we'll provide it, you know? It's just like...
Smart
guys. Well, it's a lot of lugging, but yeah, got them a lot of great support.
Good opportunities,
Totally.
So the other thing with Rockhampton is, I can't remember, we could have already had this conversation anyway. You went to St. Joseph's.
Oh, shit. Yes, I did.
All right. I did a bit of Facebook stalking.
Yes, you did.
So... This is the YouTube thing that I was going to show you.
Oh,
I don't even know if it's on YouTube, but do you remember PA OK?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, PA OK. And it pissed me off when they changed it. They changed it to PA That's the Way. I was like, fuck off with that. They changed the ad. I was like, you've got to be kidding.
So I went to Park Avenue State School.
No way.
And I think I'm a year younger than you.
Okay, I'm 83.
I'm 84.
Okay, yeah.
And
so I went to PA preschool.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think I came to Rockhampton in year 3, something like that. And then I left. I didn't go to high school in Rockhampton. I was down here. But my neighbour across the road went to St. Joseph's, and then he went to UMass.
Okay. Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know Joel Tragus.
Yeah.
Joel Tragus?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Joel Tragus? No, Joel Whitcomb.
Okay, the Tragus boys were like pretty notorious in Rocky. They were pretty rough sort of cats.
Right. And Tragus was at Park Avenue.
Yeah.
And then the Whitcombs were
at...
They were at St. Joseph's, and then they went to Emmaus as well.
Yeah. Joel Whitcomb, I can't remember exactly where, but he lived like a street away or on the, like, around the corner from where I lived. Yeah.
Hardy Avenue.
Yeah.
That's where I lived.
There you go. Dude,
yeah.
Did we grow up really close to each other and we didn't even know?
We did, yeah.
That's nuts.
And so one of my best friends at the time lived on the next street over, and I can't remember the name of the street off the top of my head, but that was Aaron Scanlon.
Okay.
And he played basketball for quite a few years, but I don't know what high school he went to. But yeah, when I was going through and I was looking for links and whatever, and I went... No shit, Park Avenue, hey? Not only Rockhampton, but Park Avenue.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Wow.
So
there you go.
Things come full circle. We could have walked past each other a bunch of times.
Absolutely could have. We probably played... we wouldn't have because we were in different grades. I was going to say we probably would have played footy against each other or something.
It would have been close,
Yeah.
Combined school sports. Of
damn.
Playing against Frenchville or any of that, like for rugby league or cricket or...
Did you ever get to play a game of footy at like Brown Park?
Yeah. I think we got to the grand final one year, so they had the finals there. Had our really horrible, disgusting brown jerseys. They were just hand-me-downs from like the last 10 years of students that went through. Yeah,
but it was weird, man. Like I'm not a big footy guy, but when I was in primary school, everyone played, you know, and there was a sort of sense of like. The older dudes at school got to wear these and we finally get to wear them now. That's weird, man.
Yeah, I think at one point, at least at our school, it was only when you were in, I think, year 7 or something that you were allowed to wear the actual jerseys.
Like the good ones, yeah.
And then before then, you had like these scraps. So it was a different colour or whatever, and you're like, oh, I don't want to wear these. And then suddenly,
it's literally just to identify you. There's no like pride in wearing it.
And then suddenly you got these jerseys, you're like, oh wow, this is I'm really good. And then they chuck you out the wing, but that's another story. They put me in second row because I was this tubby little fat guy, and then they realised. But then they realised I was just useless there, so they went, and I couldn't run very fast. So like, I just put me on the wing. If you get older,
great strategy because I just run rings around.
No, that's it. Oh, well, they just never passed the ball out that fast. I just stood in the outskirts, sort of like cricket in summer. They put you right out in the edge of the field, and you're just like staring at the sky, and then the ball flies over your head or whatever. But I thought that was so funny.
Rockhampton.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've got so many weird coincidence Rockhampton things. Like I got an Uber last Saturday night. I got an Uber from my friend's house back to home because I'd had a few too many beers. And I got into the car and I said, and just randomly my wife said to him, are you from Brisbane? And he went, well, not originally. And I went, this guy's about to say he's from Rockhampton. Straight up, because that's how, like, the way I say it is, I'm originally from Rockhampton.
Yeah.
And just something clicked in the way he said it that I went, this cat's about to say he's from Rockhampton. And sure enough, I'm from Rockhampton. I moved from there a bunch of years ago. His son plays for the Broncos. But more than that, he knew, like, my parents, my grandparents, not only that, my grandparents, like, brothers and sisters.
Oh, shit.
And my mother had a best friend at school who passed away in a like tragic car accident sort of shortly after school, right? Like, she was less than 20. And he had dated her. Like, in the intervening years between, like, graduating high school and when she passed. Yeah.
Wow.
Like, we got that deep into conversation on who he knew from Rockhampton, and he had taken her out a few times back, like, 40 years ago, you know?
It's incredible. I mean...
It's nuts.
Yeah. These coincidences, they just... I mean, I know it happens a lot for a lot of people, but, man, like, it's just... It blows your mind.
Totally.
It blows your mind.
Totally.
And when I was looking up the other day and doing a bit of Facebook stalking, I'm like... What? Like, Park Avenue, of all the places. And so usually, like, when someone says, I lived in Rockhampton, it's usually there's just no connection. They're on the south side or whatever, which is like, if anyone's on the south side, it's just another world. May as well be Melbourne. Like, you just don't associate with them whatsoever. I think the only time I ever went over there was, I used to go to whatever the first shopping centre was over the...
City Centre.
Yeah, and we used to get potato gems there after school some days when Mum had to do shopping.
Yeah.
Great fact there. And then we used to play club basketball, and there was a basketball sort of multi-purpose
At Hegbold.
Yeah. And we used to play over there. But I was there for about 4 or 5 years, and then
Playing basketball?
Well,
because I played basketball there as well.
Did you?
Yeah,
no way.
I was Toledo. I played for Toledo. Yeah. Were you
Yeah, 'cause
Panthers or what was the other one?
We were Panthers.
Yeah.
We were always last. We just sucked. And it was the team they had the black jerseys.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what
all the cool kids were in that one. They had some really shit hot players.
Yes.
They actually, I think I might have even subbed in for a Toledo team once. It might have been through the Whitcombs because they played as well.
Yes. Totally.
We could have been on the same
because the older Troy, he was a ref.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
Big guy. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
And weird fact, my mum thought he was the best ref there because he was really animated.
Oh, yeah.
He was like really...
I just remember him being really angry all the time.
Yeah.
Getting right into it, yeah.
Wow, dude, this is nuts.
We could have, you know what? We could have
easily
even played a game
against each other.
We could
easily.
We could have. That's crazy.
I was easily the worst player.
I was pretty shit as well. I had this story. I've said it on the podcast before, but one of the most tragic and scarring moments of my life was at the end of the season. They would do trophies.
Yeah.
And so you go back to the courts and whatever, and they do their little team thing. And so I was at that age where everyone gets a trophy, and so they'd pick like your MVP and everything like that.
Forget you.
Absolutely didn't forget me. But they had like the consistently good, the guy who rocks up all the time, or best shoes or whatever, like just stupid stuff, and they were like proper trophies, like like they got them all engraved and everything.
For you.
And then right at the end they went, oh, that's it, and I'm like sitting there and I'm like, keep it together, and my mum, good on her, she's like, he hasn't had one yet. And I'm like, don't, Mum, just leave it go. Don't highlight the fact that I'm a loser and I didn't get anything. And I just remember sitting in that car on the way home, and I remember my parents just going, that's really poor. And they made a mistake.
They're not wrong.
They made a mistake, and they didn't do it on purpose. And I remember them saying, oh, we'll get one done and we'll send it out during the week. And I just remember going, please don't. And I remember sitting in the back of the car, like, trying to keep it together and not break down and just go, oh my God, this is the worst thing to ever happen. And so whenever I think of basketball in Rockhampton, I always think of that thing, trophy night is the worst.
That sucks.
But at the same time, like, I was obsessed with the NBA and we used to
what kid wasn't at that period of time?
Basketball cards as well. Yeah. So I used to go to the basketball card shop on Main Street.
And did you go and get like all the Beckett mags that had all the
second
prices
column, or you have to double it or halve it or whatever.
because it was US prices.
Yeah, that's
course.
right. Yeah.
Holy shit!
And then there was a market over on South Side as well on Sundays.
Yeah, near the train line.
Yes.
Down Denison Street.
Yeah, and so you go with your folders or your special cards and try and trade or whatever. Yeah.
Totally remember all that.
Oh, we could have been standing next to each other.
Dude, that card shop, because there was the newsagent in the card shop within like 50 meters of each other.
Yeah.
And so the newsagent would like, they'd sell like a couple of different boxes worth of stuff, and then the card shop was just like, it was just a haven for me, man. Like, and setting right up across the road from the school. Yeah. Genius.
Yeah.
Because kids would just flock there after school, man. And like most kids didn't buy anything because they didn't have any fucking money.
No, they go in there and just look at all the cards and then flip
must have
through the
got
albums.
so sick of just telling kids like, get your fingers off the fucking glass. Like,
I remember going to What's New at the
oh shit! I haven't thought about What's New
at
in
Rockhampton
years.
Shopping Fair or whatever.
Yeah.
And I rocked up with a bundle of basketball cards wrapped in a rubber band. Yeah. And I said, "How much are these worth?" And the guy just went, "Dude,
nothing. It's got a rubber band on it."
Yeah, he goes, "Dude, I'm not even going to look at them." He goes, "They're in such..." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then afterwards, I'm like, "Oh, I had to get sleeves." And the guy upsold me. He sold me like sleeves and a folder and everything. And I had all my pocket money and was gone. And Mum's like, "What's all that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I had to buy these things." But my parents are smart. Like, they used basketball cards as leverage for me to do things.
Yeah, totally.
They'll be like, "I'd buy you 2 packets of basketball cards or 4 packets or whatever it is if you
mow the lawn or whatever."
Yeah, or if you stick with this until this thing or whatever it was. And I'm like, "Yep, absolutely."
Yeah.
And it was
definitely a carrot for sure. Oh, dude, it was exactly the same for me. And what's weird, I don't know if you're the same as me, man, but like, I used to just religiously read the stats and all the stuff on the back of those cards. Everything. And there's weird shit that I still have in my head that I know about those players, and like this exact spelling of their names and who they played for what seasons and what fucking all-star games they played. Like weird, like very specific period of time too. Like if you ask me like about maybe post 97, I'm fucked.
Yeah, I'm about the same. Yeah.
But yeah, like 94 to 97, heaps.
Yeah, I knew all the trades. I knew what people's heights were.
Yeah.
Or who was like sort of even like just because a friend of mine and myself, we had our go-to players. We had like favourites. Yeah. So he was Sean Kemp and Kevin Garnett.
Right.
I was Kevin Johnson.
Yeah.
Larry Johnson. Yeah. And
Larry Johnson. Like Charlotte. Yeah.
Yep. And
I feel like there's a third Johnson somewhere else.
Yeah, there is.
But anyway.
There's a few. Anyway, yeah. The listeners are like, "Oh my fucking God, like basketball." What?
Yeah.
But like we were just obsessed, and we had folders of obviously the sets, but then star cards and insert cards, and then we'd just have a player folder. And man, there was some good years.
Oh man, I had a mate, and I've lost this guy in my life. I don't know where he is now or anything like that. His name's Andrew Williamson. We were like inseparable for like a solid 18 months of like grade 4, grade 5 in Rockhampton. And he moved town, and, this is obviously way pre-internet. I've tried to find him on Facebook. Andrew Williamson, man. It's like such a common name. There's no way I'm finding this guy.
Yeah.
And, man, basketball cards. And we were just whole weekends just gone, just from like going to the shop, trading them, putting them all in the sleeves and making, which ones we're missing, writing lists of the ones we're missing. And
don't put 2 cards in the one sleeve as well. Don't back to back.
Back to back them.
Don't do that. You stretch them.
I did for the first little couple.
I did that as well.
And then like your sleeves just become
they're all stretched, and then the cards fall out when the thing's upside down, and they're Anyway, so moving along, back on topic.
Totally.
And we'll wrap it up soon. Sure. On time. Oh yeah, now pretty good. So tell me about the fraction.
The faction.
The faction. The fraction.
It's all right.
Nice work. It hasn't been out yet. That's my excuse.
Yeah. Well, it kind of came out of some of those discussions around like, fuck, there's just no opportunity. Well, it's not that there's no opportunities, because obviously, you've got the Racket and Hoagie's thing and all of the community radio shows and whatever. And in no way, shape, or form are we out to replace or be better than, or or kill anything else. It's we really wanted to create a community around heavy music, and we're not also trying to destroy Spotify or anything like that, because you've got all of those options to in the world right now. But essentially what it is we've created an app, a smartphone app, that essentially it kind of makes it a central hub for Australian heavy music, and again, this is certainly not reinventing. This is certainly not breaking down any boundaries or inventing a wheel or anything like that. It's just there's nothing quite like it. So where it's got the radio station in there. That's one element of it. You can stream that directly from the app. You can stream it from the website. You can stream it at iheartradio.com.au. You can stream it out of the TuneIn app as well. So that's all there to enjoy. That's all rad stuff, and it's really fun to put together. And I've found that process of actually putting together a radio station with rotations and deliberate choices around what's focused on and all that sort of stuff, and making sure it comes up a lot but not too much and all of that sort of stuff. That's been fun. But it's also a centralized hub of so the news element of it is actually just I'm taking RSS feeds from all of the other great heavy music sites out there. So Hysteria and Heavy and Kill Your Stereo, all the great Australian ones, pulling stuff from Metal Hammer and Alternative Press and Lambgoat and Kerrang and all of those places, and it centralizes that everywhere, so you can just go and get their last 20 articles just within the app. That's and cool. I'll show you the app in a sec, but then the other main focus in there as well is, at the moment, there's nothing exclusive in there, but once we've launched and once there's a bit more interest and an audience, we'll actually have exclusive offers in there that are things like discounts on, say, vinyl, or discounts on, they might be a tour. You might get an exclusive code to put in, I don't know, 2-for-1 tickets, or, free shipping on merch or something like that, right?
You're creating your own community in a way.
Yeah. And so at the moment, what we're doing is we just trawl through all of the great merch sites, vinyl sites, that are in Australia, and getting their specials and sales stuff and putting that in there as basically an Oz bargain for metal.
That's awesome.
Do you know what I mean? So it's sort of, we're centralizing that for people so they can go, oh, cool. So for instance, in there, there's a $12 Opiate by Tool. They have vinyl, $12, no free shipping. I'm like, fuck yeah, I bought it myself. So, pardon me. So, and just doing things like, listing off, Resist Records sale items, just to highlight that for Resist, because it's worth sending someone, because they got great prices, or, there's a discount code for 5% off at 2400 store. Cool. We'll make people aware of that, whatever it is that's on sale or whatever it is that's going on, then we're going to highlight it. But eventually we'll have our own exclusive stuff. So once we actually have an audience, once we launch it, once it's, there's people there, we can actually go to 2400 and go, give us a code, and we'll show you just how many people we're sending you. And, that's cool. That sort of stuff, or whoever, not just to single out one.
No.
But, so that's the point of it, is the main three parts are the radio station, the news, and the offers. So the idea is that it, if you're into heavy music, you've got the app. We can access you directly via a push notification within the app, and we can go, yo, get on it now. Whatever band is, Lord's touring, they're about to announce tickets go on sale tomorrow.
Shit, yeah.
And so we're going to be able to bring value to bands through that. And obviously, the bands will get played on the radio station, whatever. If people are listening in, then they'll hear it. That's cool. It might turn them on to a new band. But we can actually work with a band for PR or not for PR. It doesn't matter. We can go, all right, you can access our audience. Say you've got a show that you want to sell in Melbourne. You can access all of our people in Melbourne that are into heavy music, do a blast to them, tickets on sale now, or, put in a code and, Faction users in Melbourne only get this code for tickets for this show or whatever it is.
It's pretty cool. I mean, you're creating your own leverage in a way because, I mean, that example you said before about you've got this band who are great, but there's nowhere for them to be played.
Yeah.
You look abroad, which is fine, and that's worked in that instance. But instead of saying, and this is the mentality of those Kiwis as well, that have said, well, Devilskin saying, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is like, well, there are challenges to get certain songs in rotation on some of these bigger platforms.
Definitely.
So let's create our big platform.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of cool, but with a whole additional dynamic to it that makes it unique to what's already out there.
Yeah, and like I said, man, like this was not created with any ideas of like we're gonna squash anyone else's thing. Like we honestly believe
It's another option.
Oh man, the more options that heavy music has in Australia, the better.
Yeah.
I'm going to be listening in to other shows, not just my own as well.
Yeah,
So at the moment, it basically plays music 24/7. There's like little vocal stings and whatever in between from bands saying, hey, so I got Toddy from King Parrot to do one the other day. Nice. So he's like, hey, yo, it's Toddy. You're listening to The Faction or whatever.
Yeah, cool.
And at midday and 7 p.m. every day, there's an interview that gets played as well, probably a 20 to 30 minute interview. So we've partnered with Paul Brown from Wall of Sound.
Yes.
And we take his podcast where he just does an interview with, so his last couple have been like Corey Taylor, the singer from Seco Y, Joe from Grinspoon, and Rex Brown, ex Pantera. So at the moment, they're the ones that are in rotation. So at midday or 7 p.m, you're going to get one of those four. And so at any one time, I'll just rotate out the oldest one.
Yeah.
But the view is eventually that there will be curated shows, hosted shows. And, I'm really keen to explore into different, shows that we could put on as well. I'm really keen on like a pop culture sort of thing because, I kind of see that there's plenty of metalheads out there that, have other interests as well as music. And
Paleontology.
Well, dude, I'd love to, if there's anything you want to contribute, I'd love to have a chat.
Yeah.
But, so it's just an acknowledgement. I don't have the time to interview bands and, Brownie is doing that. I basically, he gets to premiere it for a week and then he gives it to me for replay value, essentially.
Yeah, cool.
So, he's going to benefit out of that and that I'm, giving his platform a bit of a plug. I'm going to benefit out of it where he's going to go, it's replaying now over at The Faction, so that's cool. I'm pretty keen on increasing the female voices on there as well. I've got Karina from High Tension recording some little vocal things for me, and I've grabbed stuff from Alex from Drown the City and Morgan from Acolyte and that sort of stuff. But I really want I'd love to have a female hosted show on there. And, not necessarily just playing female, vocal metal, but just their perspective of what their metal, like the metal that's exciting them,
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever it is that they're doing. So, I was saying this the other day that, from what you can, see out of, great things like, like the Wonder Woman movie that's just happened, whatever, you can just see that representation is really important. And if I'm expecting that there will be a female audience for this, because there are definitely female and non-binary people that are into metal. If I'm going to expect that they're going to want to listen to the station and be involved in the app and be involved in the community and that sort of stuff, it's important for them to hear their voice as
that's
well.
exactly right.
Do you know what I mean? So, that's where I'm coming from as well. So I'm trying very hard to make sure that it feels that it's considered,
It's just it's a stronger community of people. And I think then the bigger picture is obviously people feel that they're a part of a community, which is important. But I think it's also, from a business point of view, it's fantastic because it's such a more passionate and loyal community where when you do have an artist that needs development or needs that opportunity and is placed in a position where there's this loyal community support, then the opportunities for that artist are so much more as well, because you've got this loyalty. I mean, people that say they're a part of this, it's going back to the whole sporting team mentality. People love to be part of a tribe. They love to be a part of a name or a concept or a brand or whatever it might be. And the more welcoming and accepted and comfortable that you can make it for people, and covering all bases, the better it's going to be. So I reckon
I am hoping that it does, that sort of welcoming and acceptance kind of comes back a little bit this way as well, because we were talking about earlier, just before I think you hit record, about that. That is one thing that I do wrestle with in my head, is that, like, I am trying to create something here that is fairly broad in its genre, in its genre spectrum. So, I am trying to create something that has a little bit for everyone, that, that would cover that entire heavy, bandwidth. So I know that there probably will be some people that are so pure metal fans that might just go, there's too much of everything else for me. But I really am trying to cover, and I think fairly, if you're into that genre, there's going to be the bands that you would think that would be in that genre. They're there,
And I think that's something that, as of recording this, it hasn't been launched yet. No. But by the time this is out, people will know about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you launch a concept and you've spent time investing to create it, and you've got a scope of what it is. But I guess it's a live piece of work that is constantly evolving, and so after the first month you go, whoa, that particular thing we're doing is not working. Let's ditch that, or let's adjust it, or let's tweak it. Or after 6 months you go, you know what, this is working really well, let's add on to this and do this. So I'm assuming that eventually
we'll have a store of our own in there. There's a actually, I'll show you the app now.
All right. Everyone listening, sucked in.
Yeah, this is gonna
actually, everyone listening should already have the app by now.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So
it's going to be on all the usual app places.
Yeah, Google and the Google Android store and the
on Apple
and the Apple store. Yeah.
Cool.
So essentially, like I said, you've got the radio, which essentially is just we'll see what comes up. Hopefully it's nothing too embarrassing. It's going to make me look like a total non-metalhead.
The pressure's on.
What do we got? Converge. Yes.
Yeah, nice. Okay,
there
cool.
You go, new Converge. So then the news, like I was saying before.
That's the RSS.
Yeah, it pulls in all of the feeds. Come on. There you go.
Oh, cool.
So you just go through and choose what outlet is your favorite, or,
And there's heaps there.
There's heaps there. Yeah. Metal Obsession, Lamb Goat, Blabbermouth, Kerrang, Metal as Fuck, Alternative Press. Yeah, that's all cool. All the usual suspects. The offers, like I said, they're, there you go. There's your sale items for Resist Records. Just takes you straight out to the store.
Oh, man.
And you can just purchase in-app. Nerve Gas, 2400. There's that Tool vinyl. Yeah. Some specials at 2400. D's Nuts shirt for $10 if you want it. And then, obviously the events and the social stuff, that just pulls directly from our Facebook.
And so things like your Spotify and your videos, would that be feeds or playlists that you've created?
That's the high rotation tracks that we've got. So at the moment, this is pre-launch, but at the moment, so Trivium, King Parrot, August Burns Red, Stick to Your Guns, Eka Vandal, Converge, The Bronx, Crossfaith, Nine Inch Nails, Beautiful Monument, In Motive, which is dudes from Tesseract. Tesseract? I think so. Polaris, Betraying the Martyrs, In Heart's Wake, Daybreak, The Acacia Strain, Diada's Murder, Make Them Suffer, and Northlane. So that's
cool.
At the moment, that's the high rotation stuff. And then Spotify, it's the same list, but takes you straight out to the playlist in the actual Spotify app.
That's awesome.
So, and then the missing spot there will be the store. So where we'll actually have our own store eventually, where
It's really
we'll
cool.
be
Slick.
selling stuff directly. Oh, I made that. Like I made that out of it's software that you can find online. And
So you got no coding or anything background? You just used
interestingly, I have an IT degree where I can code, but I didn't need it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with this is it actually just everything in there pulls from other sources.
Yep.
So the radio station is streaming regardless, through Shoutcast. Playlist is Twitter. The news is just RSS feeds. YouTube is from our YouTube account. Spotify, Facebook. That's just a hidden blog page on the Office is just a hidden blog page on our website where I'm just taking an RSS feed from that page.
It's cool.
So, other than changing these slideshow images at the top, I shouldn't need to update the app ever because everything's updated from other sources. So
you can call yourself an app developer now.
I actually have the licenses to submit apps to stores. Yeah, I'm a developer.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, man, I'm conscious of the time. Far out. This is really cool, man.
Well, it's been fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for the beer as well.
Absolutely.
For all the beer fans, what have I got here? Oh,
Hop Thief.
Oh, mad. There you go. James Squire, shout out. Give me a sponsorship.
Cheers, Az.
All right, thanks, man.
No worries.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that episode with Tim. If you want to reach out to Tim or check out any of the things, including his new app, please go over to andysocial.net. You can find all the links to everything that Tim is involved with and up to, especially if you want to reach out to him and pick his brain about anything to do with band PR. Now, before I wrap things up very quickly, ways to support this podcast: liking, sharing, reviewing, rating, all those social media things go a long way to helping the podcast. If you shop on Amazon, go over to andysocial.net and you can click on the portal link, and that gives me a bit of commission on every order that's made through that affiliate link on my page. Also, I've got paypal.me, I should say. Thank you to everybody who's been donating via the paypal.me link on my website. More or less, if you want to throw me a couple of cents or a couple of dollars, you can click on that link and then enter in whatever number you wish. And it's kind of like a bit of a donation, but it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. But it's an extra thing there, a bit of an opportunity for people that want to give a little bit more than just listening to the podcast. But if you're listening, thank you so much. Appreciate the support, and each week is getting bigger and better. So I really appreciate everybody talking about it, linking, sharing, tagging people in it. It goes a long way, and I'm looking forward to presenting more episodes in the coming weeks for you guys. So thank you. Until next week, bye-bye.